Hi all, we are back with another video. Today we will be starting off our second chapter, Classification of Business. In this video, we will be learning the different sectors of economic activity, relative importance of the sectors, and changes in the importance of sectors in an economy. Alright then, let us begin. But before we start, take a look around. Do you see any desk or table? Found it? Great. If not, then just think of one. That would be enough. Now that you're either thinking of or looking at a table, where do you think they come from? What stages of production has the wood passed through to reach your home as a finished desk? It mainly goes through 3 stages. The first stage is called the primary stage of production, which is done in the primary sector of the economy. The primary sector extracts natural resources of the earth to produce raw materials which other businesses use. From our earlier example, a woodcutter cuts down trees to get wood, which is essentially the first stage of the production process. This brings us to the next stage, called the secondary stage of production, which is done in the secondary sector. The secondary sector deals with the manufacturing of products using the resources extracted from the primary sector. Using our case, the wood from the woodcutter is taken to the furniture makers, who assemble and manufacture the tables. The finished product is then taken to the retailers, where our third stage begins. The third stage of production is called the tertiary stage. Activities done in this stage is under the tertiary sector, which involves providing services to both customers and businesses. In our example, the retail shop we buy the table from falls under the tertiary sector. To sum up this part of the lecture, let's look at a few examples of each sector. The primary sector includes activities like farming, fishing, forestry, and the extraction of natural materials such as oil and copper. The secondary sector includes activities such as building, construction, car manufacturing, computer assembly, and more. As for the tertiary sector, services like banking, transport, tourism, and education are all part of this sector. Now that we know about the 3 sectors, one very common question that is asked by most students is that which of these 3 sectors is the most important to an economy? The answer to this question is quite simple. It depends. It usually depends on either of the following 2 factors: the percentage of the country's total number of workers employed in each sector, or the value of output of goods and services and the proportion this is of the total national output. These 2 factors basically dictate which sector is most important in an economy. Let us illustrate this through examples. We all know about developing and developed countries. As we can probably guess from its name, developing countries have emerging manufacturing and service industries. This means the secondary and tertiary sectors are not fully established there, which suggests that the country employs and operates more in the primary sector than the other 2 sectors. Moreover, the people have relatively lower incomes in developing countries and are less likely to spend on services like hotels and tourism. The levels of both employment and output is the highest in the primary sector for developing countries, which makes primary sector the most important for mostly all developing countries. On the other hand, developed countries have seen their economy establish manufacturing industries many years ago. That is why developed countries employ more people in the secondary and tertiary sectors than the primary sector. In the case of the most developed countries in the world, the scenario is a little more advanced. They see many of their manufacturing products bought in from foreign countries and usually have most of their people employed in the service sector. Therefore, the output of the tertiary sector is often higher than the other two sectors combined, which makes it the most important sector in the most developed countries. Now that we understand how the importance of a sector is determined in a country, let's look at the changes in importance of these sectors in recent years. As we are heading deeper into the age of technology, the tertiary sector is growing rapidly compared to the primary and secondary sectors. The decline in the manufacturing or secondary sector of industry is called deindustrialization. There are mainly three reasons for these changes in the relative importance of the sectors, which are as follows. First of all, sources to primary products are getting depleted, as evident with Somalia cutting down most of its forest, which leads to the reduced importance of the primary sector in that country. Then, most developed countries are losing competitiveness in manufacturing to the newly industrialized nations like our very own Bangladesh, India, and China. This leads to developed countries buying manufacturing products from these newly industrialized nations and focusing more on their tertiary sector. And finally, the developed countries' total wealth and living standards increase. Consumers prefer to spend on services like travel, healthcare, and leisure rather than industrialized products, hence shifting the importance of primary and secondary sectors to the tertiary sector. With this, we conclude today's lecture. Let's take a look back at few important points that we have learned today. The different sectors of economic activity, relative importance of the sectors, and changes in the importance of sectors in an economy.